Okay, Brayden, I am super excited to talk to you today because I feel like at your age was where I was at this age. And you're what, 10, 11,
Oh, 9.
9, work. Okay, so yeah, basically I started dancing right around when I was 9-ish, 8-ish, and this feels like a very similar situation. It feels like almost like deja vu. So I was looking at your Instagram because, like, why not? Who doesn't look at your Instagram? And I saw one of your videos that kind of went viral in a sense of lots of views, lots of followers, lots of likes. And I feel like the same thing happened to me when I was younger. I started gaining a lot of views, a lot of awards. Teachers started noticing me. I felt like I was getting acknowledged. And I just want to ask you, like, specifically about that one video at Chaos, I believe. How was that whenever you watched it and found out, like, oh, wow, people are actually like watching this and enjoying this and like liking it because they actually like enjoy watching this and want to like it? So, like, what does that make you feel like?
Like, it makes me feel good. Um, I really like the people that are like commenting
Yeah.
because it's like this. There was this one girl also that
Hmm.
like tried to go in front of me, but like people were talking about that,
No.
so it was like funny. But it really makes me feel good. I
Yeah.
really love it. Um, One thing about it is that I don't know really how I do it.
Yeah.
It's just it
It
just
just
goes viral.
happens. Yeah, you're just doing what you're doing. I
Yeah.
love that. So yeah, I just feel like now at when I'm at my age, which is 15, and looking back when I was 9, there are so many things that I would love to tell like my younger self, and I feel like I can just tell that to you, which in exchange for it, because I feel like I said, we're in a very similar spots. But yeah, so I'm super excited because we are both from DC Dance Factory and both on Tiger Friday. So I've known you for what, 2 years, two and a
Mhm.
half years?
Two,
Yeah,
two
right.
and a half.
That feels good.
Yeah.
But I actually remember the first time I saw you, and I think it was in a random, it was either in a Nick Tuesday class or a Monday night, like nat class. I can't remember what it was.
It was a nat. The
Yes,
first
I
nat.
feel like it was a nat
Yeah.
class, and I remember coming out to my mom and being like, "Oh my gosh, there's this little boy in there that is just boom," like, it was just blowing my mind. Then I remember we went home that night and we legit, like, connected our phones to the TV and just were scrolling through your Instagram talking like, thinking how good you were and how much performance and energy you had, and I think most of the reason why we were so invested in that was because it felt a lot like me when I was younger, like, not in a way of, like, I definitely wasn't as good as you, like, I had all the confidence and the sass, but I was not there with the dancing yet, but it did feel so similar because I was like, "Oh my gosh," like, I started posting on Instagram and started getting, like, even if it wasn't that many, I started getting some views and some attraction, so, like, I feel like this is just so interesting because it's like I'm going back in time and, like, seeing myself in you. So all that to say, I have a little story I wanna tell you because I feel like it'll help you, it'll help other people who are, like, are watching, and I think it's just gonna be really beneficial. So let's go backwards and go back to 2019, I believe. I started dancing at DC when I was, 8 years old, I believe, and it was in 2017. I was what you call a back row beauty. Like I said, was not really a great dancer, didn't have the technique, couldn't pick up the moves, but I definitely had that performance and that star quality. So I remember we went to the DC intensive just kind of as a I remember your story is that you didn't even know you were auditioning. For me, I knew there was an audition, but I didn't feel like I was auditioning because I was like, there's no way I'll make it. I'm not good enough yet, but it's just for fun because I love to do this. But I made it, super surprised, biggest deal ever. Was a background beauty for my entire, probably first year. Right when I got to my second year of dance, Millennium Dance Complex opened up in Nashville and I started taking lots of classes there, growing as even if I still wasn't there technically, I could figure out how to pick up choreo faster and just getting connections, getting in touch with a lot of people in the Nashville area. And it was just very important to me that I wanted to just keep dancing. And right around my second year of dance, I figured out this is what I wanted to do. So from there, my mom actually took me to LA, I believe. It was in probably June of 2019. And we went, I trained with one of Britney Spears' background dancers because we had an interesting connection of like one of my mom's friends was him. So I got to train with him for 2 days. It wasn't even that long. My parents surprised me with the LA trip. It was the biggest deal. Then we left, and I believe it was in the same year we went to Build-A-Beast. So then later that summer, probably around the August time, I went to this thing called Build-A-Beast, which is a part of I'm a Beast, and went there with no expectations, just wanted to learn, to grow. Was super excited because I was gonna meet all these amazing dancers like Janelle Justra, Jade Bug, like there was just so many people I was excited to meet. And I remember on the very first class, on the very first day, I got called out with Twitch. It was me, 6 other male dancers, Twitch, and like that was it. Everyone else got to watch. I was the youngest one in there. I was so excited, but even then I didn't know how much of a like big deal it was. Like looking back on it now, I'm like, what in the world? Like I got called out with Twitch, who is like this huge person, made such an impact on the dance community. But then the next day, second class, got called out to do a solo by myself in a ballroom class, I believe, with Suave? Suavo. Thank you. Got called out in a ballroom class with Suavo and did it all by myself. And I just was feeling all the love. People were coming up to me saying how much they love me, my star quality, saying how even if I didn't pick up all the moves, I just had something about me that made me feel so special. And I came back from that. Oh, well, I also did the audition, got connected with Jordan Fisher, who is now like one of my closest family friends, and got to make so many connections with so many new people and felt so loved and was just so excited. I ended up being one of 2 that got announced that summer of who was made the company. Everyone else would find out probably a month or a month and a half later. And it was the biggest deal. So, me as a 9-year-old came back to Nashville being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the best. Like everyone should love me now because everyone loved me there. So why wouldn't they love me here?" So I think I definitely let it like kind of get to my head, which is something that can obviously happen. That's natural. You are going to feel all those emotions, and getting called out in such a big place like LA, it feels like, wow, this is a huge deal. So came back to Nashville, started training with Jordan Grace, Area 54, and went there every Wednesday because at that point I was only training Tuesdays and Thursdays at DC, so my Wednesdays were off. And I, like I said, got a little too big for my bridges and definitely started feeling like, oh, well, I'm the best in here. I'm the star of this. I should be in the center. I'm taking class in the center. I'm being obnoxious because it doesn't matter because I'm so good. Who's going to say anything? But then I remember I was at a sleepover one day. My mom came to pick me up and she's in the car and I could just tell something was wrong. I was like, she is not happy with me and I just don't know why. And she tells me that Jordan Grace called her and was like, "Hey, like obviously since I'm so close to y'all's family, I want to tell you this that I think I need to have a conversation with Haven about the difference between confidence and cockiness. Because there is such a thin line in between that as a kid, I didn't know. I knew I was so confident that I felt like, oh yeah, I should be getting all the attention I'm getting. Like I felt like I deserved it. And I was totally crossing that line into cockiness. So I remember about 2 weeks later, I went down to this random dance studio, sat on the floor with Jordan, just in this random studio, and she just told me we had a whole conversation about it and how she was like, obviously it's not intentional. Of course, no one wants to be like, I feel like I'm better than you. Like that's not something that people do, hopefully. But for me, like I didn't think I was doing it. I just wasn't aware of it. So we probably had an hour conversation about how I just need to learn the difference between confidence and cockiness. And I think it's obviously so important because cockiness is something that is one, makes you kind of like, people don't want to hang around you. It makes you kind of like annoying in a sense, like not actually, but it's off-putting. No one wants to be there whenever you're super cocky and think that you should deserve everything you get and not being grateful about it. But also, like I said, it's a thin line. So being confident can be off-putting for some people, but the people it's off-putting for, that's not okay. Like being confident is such a big thing that I feel like I, as someone who is 15 now, still struggle with staying confident because obviously as a teenager and being in this world now with social media and TVs and phones, it's a whole different place. TikTok, Instagram, it's a very different from when I was actually growing up without this extreme of an app. And I feel now that growing up, I felt like I was, like I said, crossing into that cockiness line. But after that conversation, it legit, like, something clicked in me. I was like, this is what needs to happen. Like, I can't act like this anymore. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. So I remember talking to my mom the next day and just being like, okay, I understand. Like, I fully understand what she was saying. I get it. Like, I was making obnoxious comments in class, distracting in class, talking about things that maybe shouldn't be talked about in those settings, not knowing time and place, but thinking that because I was who I was, I could do all that and not get in trouble for it. So I think now I learned what confidence was, in a sense of being confident but still being humble. So knowing that I can fully be like, oh, I know I'm good. Like, I know I'm good, but I know I have things to grow on. Like, there's that, instead of being like, I know I'm good and that's it. But no, I know I'm good and I know I have so much to grow on though. So just knowing constantly, like, say you're in a knit class, you're getting the combo super well, and you can say that, oh my gosh, I'm getting this combo really well. This feels amazing. But then being like, oh, well, maybe I should tweak this step because me and Nick look a little different. Like, I want to kind of match him if that's what the vibe is for class. And so just constantly knowing that perfection doesn't exist and that you're continuing to learn in every scenario. So I think now for you at your age, and like I said, you're getting lots of views, attention, teachers are noticing you, you get called out in like every class, which is amazing, but not letting it be like, oh, since I've gotten called out here, I should be called out there, like automatically. I think just knowing that you still need to be respectful, you still need to be super humble, and knowing that if someone does call you out, amazing, but still feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm so grateful I got called out in the scenario, even if the last time I had the same class, I got called out. Like, just constantly being grateful and humble and understanding it all. So, my question for you is, what do you think for you right now is the line between confidence and cockiness?
Um, I don't really know.
Okay, well, that makes complete sense. But then another question for you, and kind of a different way of saying it, is can you give me maybe an example of when you've been like, oh, maybe I am being a little cocky right now, or maybe I'm not staying humble in this moment? Can you think of any maybe examples of that?
Um, Probably like once
Yeah.
at a comp.
Okay, tell me.
It was like for a scholarship,
Okay.
and I was mad someone got it and I
Mhm.
didn't. And then the next day I realized that was not right
Mhm.
because they deserve it.
Yeah.
And I there's going to be sometimes that I don't get it and other people do.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that,
great.
yeah.
I love that because I think that specific example is such a big one for everybody. Like, I know I've personally dealt with that of being like, oh my gosh, wait, but I deserve that. Like, I was the one getting called out in every class. I was the one that the teacher said are doing amazing. Everyone told me I would get this. So why am I not? So I think that's a beautiful example because, like I said, that is something I've thought multiple times. And that's okay for there to be moments like that where you're being like, oh no, but I deserved it. But then I love how you said that even the next day or a little bit later that you turned it around and was like, okay, I understand because they also fully deserved that moment. And that's not taking away from how good you did there. That's you saying, I know I did good, but I know that they also did good. And that's okay because we're both growing. We're both on, as my mom likes to say, we're all on our own little path. So trying to veer into someone else's lane and being like, no, I deserve this, you don't, like trying to like butt heads like that is where you have to be like, wait, but we're all by ourselves right now. We're not competing against each other. We're competing against ourselves. Like, I'm trying to compete against myself to make myself better each time I do this. And every time I'm at a convention or every time I'm in a class, just trying to better myself all the time. So then with this, I want to also ask you, like, have there ever been moments in maybe a class or a competition or anything type of setting where you've been like, wow, I feel like I'm not getting supported, or maybe I'm not feeling like people are yelling for me, or maybe they're saying some nasty comments or anything like that? Have you thought about any of that before? And maybe that's gone into your head where you're like, wow, this doesn't feel good because I feel like people are kind of being rude right now.
It was once in a next class, like
Mhm.
because like Nick's class is more for like older
Yeah,
kids.
totally.
Yeah. Because like once I thought like, oh, all the older kids are like getting like out and like getting called out and stuff, and like I'm not, and
Mhm.
like I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
But then that if you don't get called out, that does not mean you're not good enough.
Very, very, very true. But also, I want to ask you that if are there any scenarios where you feel like maybe your peers or the people around you or feel like they're not supporting you specifically? Instead of being like, I feel down on myself, it's more like, oh, I feel like I'm doing so good, but the people around me aren't cheering for me or they're not giving me like high fives like they're doing for other people. Like, I want to ask you that because as now that I'm 15 and been at DC for 8 years and was on the same team for 8 years up until this year, I know there's definitely been moments for me where I felt like, wow, I feel like everyone else is getting cheered for, but I'm not. And I don't know why. And it feels confusing and it's like, oh my gosh, is it me? Like, am I doing something wrong? Am I being annoying? Am I being mean and not knowing? Like, it just is a whole thought process. So my question for you is that in your like 2 years at DC or even before that in any sort of scenario, have you ever felt like maybe the people around you are kind of being like not being supportive?
I think it was
Sure.
Monsters. Um, like my first ever Monsters.
Mhm.
It was in one of the classes. I don't really remember.
Yeah.
Probably. I think it was Lydia's.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it was in her class. But that's how I felt in there, like what you said. That's what I felt at Monsters.
And then I want to ask you like what was your brain's response to that? Like what were you thinking about whenever you saw that this was happening? And I want to kind of dig into your brain and think, okay, I saw this happening. So what was your answer to yourself about people not being supportive then?
I thought like I wasn't good because
Mhm.
people like not really many people were like cheering and
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
I just thought I wasn't good, but sometimes that could really mess with your brain.
Yeah.
And that makes some dancers try to quit dance,
Yeah.
but you can't let that get to you because that's just negativity.
I
And you
love
can't let
that.
that in your head.
I love that so, so much. So I think now being older and kind of knowing more and being in, like I said, being in the dance world for like 8 or 9 years, especially in like the LA world and New York and all these places, I think what I've noticed is that when I see people not being supportive of me and not wanting to cheer me on because it could be for a number of reasons. It could be that they're kind of jealous, which is jealousy is a normal reaction for everyone to have. It could be that they're just choosing not to. It could be unintentional, just not even realize they're doing it. It could be so many things, but I think for me now, I always like me and my mom are constantly talking about killing them with kindness. Like I know it's something that everyone says and everyone does and it's so popular, but I think it's such a true statement because killing them with kindness is all you can do. You can't be in control of what you can't be in control of. All you can be in control of is you and how you respond to this action, how you take it and run with it. So anytime that happens for me, I just cheer louder for those people to show that I will support you no matter what. And I'm not going to stoop to your level and say, like, I'm not cheering for you because you weren't cheering for me. Like, I think that is something that comes across as like off putting because then in that sense, you're like, okay, because then one, you're also showing them that it gets to you and that makes people want to do that more sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me personally, I would just say if any of that kind of happens, just keep on supporting. Scream louder than they are for their friends for them. Like just showing them that you're like, okay, you're not screaming for me, fine. End of story. Doesn't bother me. You do you. But you still being like, but I'm still going to be a kind person and I'm still going to support my friends because I want to be supported, like treat people how you want to be treated. So if I want to be supported, I'm going to support them because I know that they're probably thinking the same thing. Like I said, it could be for a number of reasons. So we just kind of never know what's happening in someone's brain. But I also want to talk about ways you can deal with like kind of ugly comments cuz not only have I been people have kind of gotten mean or said some not nice things to me about my confidence, my appearance, what I believe in, all of those things. I think I'm going to say kind of the same thing, but I do want to ask you, are there any moments you can think of when someone said kind of something not nice to you, either directly or behind someone's back, that wasn't even, it might not even been dance related? And I want to know how you came back from that. So kind of the same question, just about something a little different.
It was on one of my videos on Instagram. Like
Yeah.
a lot, kind of a lot of people do it. Just some. Like they call me like rude names and like how like I'm flamboyant for a boy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't let that get to me.
Good.
And that's not something to waste your time and think about.
Love
because
that.
that's just negativity and that's just not nice to say. And whatever you have to say about that, you could like keep it to yourself because
Love that.
I don't need to hear that.
I love that, Bray, because I think that's so mature for you to be like, well, I'm not going to let it bother me. And I think that's amazing that you have that reaction to those type of comments, because those type of people just aren't your people. That's it. Like I said, people can be whoever they want to be. You do you. But I get to choose who's in my circle. And I think how you respond to that is so beautiful, because who cares? Like, it's no one's business how you choose to dance and how you choose to act. And there's nothing wrong with how anyone chooses to act in that situation. So I love that you act like that, because I think that's, like I said, so mature. I just want you to keep pushing with that, because I think there's moments where I even sometimes am like, dang, that really hurts. And then I have to remind myself, but you know what? Brush it off. Keep going with our day. You can't control it. They're doing whatever they want to do. So I love that. I want to ask some more questions. I have to think about them. Okay, how about this? Just to kind of wrap things up, out of everything I've said today, are there any little moments or something I've said that kind of stuck out that you're like, okay, well, I want to take that home and I want to continue to think about that, whether it's in class, dance, life, anything? Just, are there anything, little moments that stuck out to you for that?
I think it was all of those that
Yeah.
you just
No,
pointed out.
yeah.
I think it was all of those, and I'm gonna really work on that.
I love it.
And what you said is like really good for other people too,
Yeah, totally.
and I'm gonna really work on that.
I love that. And then do you have any questions for me?
One question, the story that you told me, do you ever feel like that way still?
Like, still kind of cocky or
Yeah.
find myself in those moments? I think it is a total human emotion to still feel those in moments. Like, I think that happens to everyone, and that's totally okay, but it's more just how you act with it, how you react to it. But I totally find myself sometimes where I'm like, no, wait, I deserve that. And then, like, how kind of you did, just having to reflect back on it and being like, no, I'm in my own lane. I'm in my own lane. Not in her lane, not in his lane. I'm in Haven Greene's lane, and that's it. So I think I just know how to handle it now, because obviously when I was younger, it was harder for me because I didn't know everything I know now and didn't have the help from my mom or my dad or my brother or anybody like that for those reasons. But I definitely think now, just if I ever catch myself in those moments, I know how to immediately like fix my mindset of being like, no, Haven, stop, take a few breaths. Like, even if I need to take a moment outside where I'm like, okay, I'm thinking about this, I'm feeling all these emotions that I don't need to be feeling right now, and I shouldn't be feeling, not because they're unnatural or any of those reasons, just to be like, no, because that's not actually what's happening. So I think, like I said, just taking from what I said earlier about how you react to it, just knowing like, okay, wait, I need to fix my mindset, take a few deep breaths, and just let it kind of flow. Let it know everything's going to go the way it goes. You can't change anything. So just staying in your head and being super present and aware of the moments that happens. Just being like, you know what? I'm just going to think about what Haven said and just kind of fix it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Is that it? Any
Yeah.
more questions?
No.
Okay, great. Also, I want everyone to be on the lookout, because me and Bray are going to have a little dance coming up that you just need to watch out for, because it's going to be pretty great. But yeah, I loved getting to talk to you today, and I can't wait until next time. And I love getting to share what I've learned with you and all the people that are watching, and hopefully everyone can take away just a little bit of it. Even if you don't resonate with all of it, just learning something from it. Okay?
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Bye, Bray.